So, in this lecture, I just want to do a sort of summing up of Kantianism, just sort of finish Kantianism. There's not really much that's new here. It's kind of just reviewing some of the stuff that we've went over in the other slides. So, but I do think it's worth, as I've done with utilitarianism and natural law theory, it's talking a bit about the advantages and disadvantages, and reviewing some points that we've already, went over. So what are the advantages of Kantianism? Well, the first of these is that, like utilitarianism and unlike natural law theory, Kantianism doesn't really require any controversial assumptions to get off the ground. Kantianism gets going with this idea that we all have, that we, in a certain way, are beings worthy of respect. Kantianism says, well, that's because you can act for reasons, that's because you are a rational being that can act for reasons and decide what are and aren't good reasons for you. Well, guess what? Every other human being can do that. You think that you deserve respect. Everyone else thinks the same thing, so they deserve respect as well. Now look, that's pretty common sense. I think Kant is right. That really isn't controversial. We can mostly agree to that. And Kantianism does very well with explaining many of our ordinary moral judgments. Think about what Kantianism says is wrong about lying to your friend. You are using your friend. You are not giving him the respect he deserves. What's wrong with stealing from a store? You are using the store owners. You are using all the honest people who don't steal. What's wrong with riding the subway without paying? You are using the honest people who pay. What's wrong with cheating to get a grade you don't deserve? Well, you're using the professor because you're trying to fool him, but also you're using all the honest people who earn their grade. That all seems like a very natural way to explain what's wrong in those cases. That's a pretty, and in a lot of more ordinary moral judgments, this idea of using other people as mere means seems a good way to explain what's wrong with a lot of the things that we would say are wrong. 3, Kantianism does well with fairness. By its very nature, anything that's unfair is going to fail this formula of universal law. And it will fail precisely because it's unfair. It's unfair to cheat for a grade that you didn't earn. Well, the unfairness, the fact that not everyone could do it, is the very reason it fails the formula of universal law. It's unfair to ride the subway without paying when all the other people are paying. Well, guess what? The unfairness is once again the very reason it fails. 4, Kantianism does very well with respect for persons. Think about cutting up someone for their organs. Think about other cases like that. Kantianism would always say not to do it. Why? You are not respecting this person as an end in themselves. Once again, this idea of respect for persons is baked right into the theory. Anything that doesn't show proper respect for persons is going to fail the formula of humanity. Finally, I won't spend a lot of time on 5 because this is something that, you could also say of natural law theory. Kantianism fits our idea that intentions matter and not just consequences. Your reasons for what you do are important. Whether or not, it's not just how you act or what the consequences are, whether you're following your duty, whether you are treating human beings as they deserve to be treated, showing them the proper respect, that matters for Kantianism as well. The disadvantages of Kantianism. Well, as we've already seen, it might be too strict or too inflexible. Even Nagel will say, if the consequences of being a good Kantian are horrible enough, he doesn't like it, but even Nagel, who's very sympathetic to Kantianism, will, it seems, fall back on utilitarian reasoning. He thinks in some very real sense you are wronging people to do it. He thinks it's a bad thing to do. But if the consequences are bad enough for using someone as a mere means, we might regret it, but I think we would all do it. When the stakes get high enough, we might not like it, but we seem pushed very strongly toward utilitarian reasoning. 2, Kantianism has nothing to say about animals. Now look, you don't have to be someone who's hardcore into animal rights to think that animals, a good moral theory should say something about them. I don't need as good a reason to kill an animal as I need for a person, but most of us don't think that I can just do it for fun. Kantianism doesn't seem to say anything at all about animals. That seems a problem with the theory. Utilitarianism might do better here. 4, Kantianism doesn't seem like it does well with respect for non-rational human beings. If you were never rational, if you never had an ability to act for reasons, then Kantianism seems pressed pretty hard to say that we can do whatever we want with you. Most of us probably wouldn't agree with that. Natural law theory, for all of its other disadvantages, seems like it might do better on this point. Finally, is duty all that goes into a good will? Is doing your duty all that being a good person requires? We've already seen in some cases, a father who does his duty towards his children but really hates one of them. Duty doesn't seem quite enough there. Is duty enough? Is being a good person just a matter of doing your duty? I'm not so sure. And this will actually be the issue we will pick up in the next unit, because this will be one of the issues that virtue theory will push back on Kantianism on. Virtue theory will agree that a good will is what's important, but virtue theory won't like the way Kant defines it. Defining it in terms of duty, defining it in terms of rules, virtue theory will say Kantianism has went wrong there. Now, let's not prejudge the issue. We'll have to see what virtue theory says. They make some good points. Virtue theory will also, as is always the case in philosophy, have its own problems. But that's what we're going to get into in the next unit, or at least one of the things.